Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. Happy to be with you again. Mike, you're looking good, man. I like that hoodie and hat combo. I like what you're working with tonight. I
Hey,
like
man,
that.
I look like a homeless pimp, you know. I look
I,
a little rough over here. It's Sunday night, man. I'm not doing my hair for a Sunday night show. You know what I'm saying? Forgive me.
I hear you. The only problem is when I wear a hoodie or something, I wave around a lot when I talk. I start sweating because I'm doing all this air traffic control when I'm yelling and it gets hot down here.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
So, Mike, little bit of news. We're coming down off the chaos of the last 2 weeks. We had the Exodus week in the portal and all that comes with that. Then we had our influx, all that comes with that. Now we're in this kind of lull spot where things have calmed down a little bit. You're starting to think about the bowl game more now that some of the pieces are falling in place. And then we got a little news came out on Twitter today. Looks like Notre Dame might be close, or depending on what report, they've already hired a strength and conditioning guy. This is a big hire. Recruiting, strength and conditioning, and like your training table to me are like the pillars of your program. If you don't have those things in order, you're going to have a hard time competing. It's a big deal. What do you think of the name bandied about?
So, as somebody that follows I follow a few different trainers, and there's all different types. There's guys that sort of work for themselves. What's the guy's name? Lauren. What's the last
Lauren
name?
Landow.
Okay. So I actually followed him on Instagram. You know, of the 1,000 people you follow on Instagram, there's a couple speed coaches I follow that I pluck things to use with the kids that I train. I like the guy's methodology, so it's a thumbs up for me.
Yeah.
I think about, John, what do you know about facilities, facility expansion, facility improvement? How are these two things, before we talk about the man, Coach Landon, like what you see, like some connective tissue between this guy and facility improvement down the road?
I don't know if I see a necessarily like a direct line connection, but one thing should be tied to the other. Like
Yeah.
I would imagine if I was a guy interested in that job, I'd want to make sure that I thought I had all of the modern amenities. I
Sure.
don't need extra luxuries. I'm not asking for a hot jacuzzi and whatever. I would want to make sure we have what we need to be able to compete. I mean, I think that's important. And I'm also hearing behind the scenes, Notre Dame may be close to announcing soon the plans to do whatever new football building I've been yelling about for years.
For sure. So yeah, and then I just, again, instinctually, John, I want to make another kind of leap or another connection to like undergrad transfers and Coach Freeman kind of working with the administration.
Yeah.
There's stuff going on.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't know what it exactly is, but it's just like you can kind of sniff something, like something's going on, and I think it's good. It smells good, right? You can sniff
I have
it out.
a theory. I have a theory on this.
I love a theory.
I've been giving this a lot of thought. Yeah, I know. Scary start to any sentence. I've been thinking about this. Some of the things that have happened and some of the things behind the scenes, you and I have both heard or been told about some of what's going on. They are making progress in a lot of these areas with NIL, with the transfer stuff, the speed. They hired the wide receiver guy, even something that little I noticed because it's on my list of things I've wanted to see tightened up. I'm seeing a lot of these things happen now. Here's my theory, though. Notre Dame's very specific about their messaging, how they appear, the brand, representation.
Okay.
I feel like some of these things where they had to get modern to keep up with NIL or transfer stuff and all that, I think more of that's getting done than they'll ever publicly announce because they just don't want it to be like, oh, yeah, Notre Dame has big NIL money. They think that's icky. So I think they're cool doing it because Freeman tells them you don't have a choice. Notre Dame doesn't want to be out in front with that because it's not their way, and they don't want anybody to get the impression there's money involved here. There was no announcement about Hartman's big NIL deal. There was for Beats, but not for the money.
Okay.
So I think differently than some of these other NIL known places. I think they do it low key behind the scenes, and only that guy needs to know about it, or whoever they're getting. I think they're getting things done, transfers too. It's low key because Notre Dame has a certain image they want to protect. So they want to play the game, but they're never going to be as public about this. That's what I feel is going on here.
No, I see that. So there's Notre Dame, the entity, the institution, that brand.
Yeah.
And they want to keep Notre Dame football underneath that.
Yep.
Right. Whereas like a Nebraska, the University of Nebraska is football. Texas, you name it.
Yep.
They lead with it. That makes total sense. As long as it's happening, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
In terms of how it's,
the people that need to know are going to know, meaning a guy you want to maybe do an NIL deal with or whatever, a transfer and all that. But Mike, I'm telling you this, you're right when you say there's a little smoke here, but that's the way Notre Dame's doing this, I believe, is they're making some of these changes, but they're not going to make a big deal about it because they don't want it to come off like they're paying guys to play. Like they don't like any of that imagery. So that's what I think's going on. But I'm like you. I'm saying I honestly feel there's changes here that are good. So I like it. I like it.
So and I'm of the belief in going back to Coach. This name's going to always throw me off. Coach Landow, Lauren Landow.
Yep.
I think to talk about him, you got to talk about Coach Bayless. And Coach Bayless was a disciple of my former strength coach, Mickey Marotti, who's now at Ohio State. He followed Urban Meyer to Florida, Ohio State. And Mickey is literally the best strength coach. Like he's the highest paid. He's a legend. When I got a chance to meet Coach Bayless a couple years ago, and he let us get a workout in, which was very cool. He gave us gear to wear. Ryan Grant, myself, we both got a lift in. It was awesome. He didn't have to do that. It is that old school mentality. It's every set you do is to failure. That's how you end up, shitting your pants in the weight room like I did once,
Yep.
I don't feel like Coach Landow is going to bring that same sort of like prison, old school, like, we used to have called prison lifts, like prison spots, he would call them. I think we're going to get away from that into that new age thing, which is a little bit more Christian. It's another dynamic too. Like these players will call Coach Freeman, they call him Free. They don't call him Coach Freeman. Like Parker, they call him GP. So they're much more peers with their coaches. You get, younger staff.
Yep.
There isn't that what's the word I'm looking for, John, where there's like that reverence to your coach. It's not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Like when you're in the NFL, like where Coach Landow came from, when you're in the NFL, like if you was Coach Kennedy, hey, John, I got a question on this play. You don't refer to your coaches as coach. It's more of a friend thing. It's more of a peer thing. So I think you're going to bring some of that. So famously, Landow has worked with Christian McCaffrey, and I think that's how he came across my Instagram feed. A lot more plyometric, explosive, super creative stuff. And I think that'll kind of keep kids engaged. So I like the approach. And that Freeman-Bayless split, I think that was just two different ways of doing business, two different ways of operating. And Bayless said, to hell with it, I'm out. Yeah. You and I talked. It wasn't personal reasons like somebody in the family was sick or whatever. It was just two egos clashing.
Well, personal could mean that too. Personal encompasses a lot of things. So that technically could cover that.
But there was never any clarity given as to what that means. And it left people to sit there and guess, right?
So, to a novice looking at this from the outside, like I am, obviously, when it comes to weightlifting and whatnot.
Just the way you said that. I'm sorry. It's just the way you said that.
Like maybe they should let me hire this guy and see if they can work on me for 6 months.
That's funny.
Here's what I think as a novice. I need a guy with some of that old school DNA, tough guy, DNA, old school type approach. But I do also see value in the new age stuff, all the technology, all the medical advancements, all the rehab stuff. They do all of the biometrics and all the stuff.
Recovery.
Yeah, all of that. So I would be looking for a guy that isn't going to totally get away from like the old school, tough guy stuff, but finding a way to blend it with the new age things that are available to you. I did see this guy he even did some research or some work on like recovery from injury, like ACL prevention, all this kind of stuff. So I would be looking for some sort of blend there. It would make me a little nervous if we're going full on futuristic stuff like that. Would make me a little nervous. So I would like some old school, tried and true stuff blended with the modern stuff would be my ideal world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, for sure. And I think that's what it's going to be. I mean, you're going to have to grind. I mean, there's going to be a max effort component to no matter what the kind of training is. Along with that, just another interesting thing about this guy is he's an entrepreneur. Like, so he has a business outside of being underneath the umbrella of a given football program, whether it be the Denver Broncos or the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
That's interesting.
So he has his own like training academy, which I think is fascinating, mainly because there are so many coaches, and Coach Freeman categorically falls underneath this. Parker falls underneath this. I mean, most of your football coaches, they played football and they went right into coaching. And then they climb the coaching ladder. And dude, all they know is like that structure of like football and coaching. Yeah. And it doesn't allow for like a lot of free thought or just like out of, I hate that expression, but out of the box thinking. Whereas like this guy, he's come and went, and it just gives you different perspectives. Like if you train different sports, different age groups, it's more of a collective kind of thought process, which I think is really fascinating. I'd love to meet the guy as somebody that's got, I have a toe in that water and have for years as a trainer kind of on the side. But then the other thing too is like you and I were talking offline before coming on air. We both share the same perspective, unbeknownst to me anyway. Like people are like strength and conditioning, you're going to put 15 pounds on this kid of lean muscle in the off season or whatever is the case. And I'm here to tell you, genetics is everything. I hate to break it to you, John, but genetics, like you said,
you don't want this smoke, baby. You don't want this shit, Mike. Come on, man. You don't want this.
Flex, dude. Flex.
You don't want this. Yeah, that was the flex. I'm just kidding.
But it's like you, John. Yeah, like you could eat all day long. You're not going to put on 10, 15 pounds. It just doesn't happen.
We had that discussion where I told you in college, I tried for a year to get up, go to the workout before I went to class, drink the
all
shakes,
the protein shakes,
all of it. And I could get a little bit bigger in a more framework, but I couldn't maintain it. I'll never eat enough calories to keep it the bulk ever. Yeah. I won't.
So it's like part of you thinks it's like, okay, we're just going to shovel food down these kids' throats, like in Emil Wagner. It's like the guy has to put on 10, 15 pounds. So we're going to shovel food down their throat, and we're going to make them lift 2 hours a day, just pushing heavy weight, and the size is going to come. And it's like before that, the genetics comes in. And like this guy's been in an NFL weight room. I've been in an NFL weight room. In the environment in an NFL weight room is a completely different dynamic than college in that like it's a lot more maintenance. It's a lot more explosiveness. It's a lot about staying healthy. These guys are 30 years old. Like they're not trying to get their bench press higher, right? They're trying to like go make more plays and get that next contract. So it's like you look at the kids' body types that Freeman's recruiting, kids with like genetic upside, and it's that strength coach to like make them a better athlete and kind of tap into their genetics. So I don't know if that's a cohesive thought, but
Yeah. No, that makes
It's
sense.
just kind of the way it works, man.
Yeah, it's well, and that it's like the whole thing of and it used to drive me nuts with Kelly too. He was big on like RKGs and then developing for a few years, and it's like you lose your frustration. And I'm like, if you recruit a higher level guy with a more developed frame to begin with, then
Yeah.
our journey to the seeing the field or being an impact guy is less of a journey. And that also means some of those guys aren't ever going to pan out. So then you're lessening the odds of a guy that just isn't going to work out, never going to be able to see the field. I mean, that's the whole point of recruiting. The better, the higher level development guys are when you get them physically, athletically, all that, you just have less to go to the finish line. So I
Yeah,
was
no,
always like, Kelly, quit telling me about develop. Go recruit guys better to begin with, and you have to do less development to get them ready.
no, it's like
What
this
do you
is stuff that
mean?
again I look at. Like, for all the football success that Oregon has had, they got bad bodies out in the field. Like, they're just not as lean as you want to see. Like, the ass isn't as high as you want. Like, just markers of stuff that I look for.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like kind of like sloppy-ish bodies.
Yeah.
Outside of like the skill position, like you look at their tight ends, you know what I'm saying? They don't look physically impressive. And then like I watch a lot of Nebraska football because I live here. John, those kids' pants, like their pants, they don't even fit. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not even filling out their like game pants. So it's like these are two different schools, two different types of athletes. And I talked about this when I was on the field for that Clemson game, being at the Ohio State game this year. Like we have the right type of dudes. Like we look good in pads, and that matters. So that to me speaks just as much to recruiting the right, types of human beings, specimens, as it does the weight room. To me,
And that
you had a
is,
ton of injury stuff. John, real quick, you had a ton of soft
man.
tissue stuff today. You could blame it on coaching or whatever, but no, that's strength and conditioning, man. That's strength and conditioning.
Hey, there have been questions asked. Is Notre Dame have an unusual amount of soft tissue things? Is there anything we could be doing better with it? That's a legitimate question that's come up here. Here's something else about this guy I found really interesting. Maybe you saw this on Twitter. He's been 2 decades plus at this, not like just popped out of nowhere.
I think it's like 3, but yeah.
Yeah, he's been around with the Broncos. When he separated with them.
I saw this.
And they asked the players after the year, whatever, like a neutral, an anonymous evaluation. They asked the players, what do you think of the way the team treats, players' families, the training table, the strength, the coaching. So they get asked to give letter grades on all these things. All those players were given failing grades for everything. This guy was the only guy that had an A. I just thought that was interesting. So I don't know if there was personal stuff going on or what didn't work, but it was very interesting to me to see failing grades their own players gave almost every other part of the organization except for this guy's part. That stood out to me as very interesting. So I don't know what all happened there, but I noted that stands out to me.
Well, the biggest challenge, and again, let's not speculate on why did he get an A- and everything else got a D, right?
Yeah.
Locker rooms, treatment facilities, the food, the parking, like everything it was a report card.
Yeah.
To all things football related for the players to fill out, almost like an exit interview type thing, survey. Let's not get into speculation as to what that went like, but I could tell you I forget the name, Dana something was the strength coach with the Rams. And then Joe Jurassic, great strength coach name, by the way. Joe Jurassic, he was the strength coach of the Cowboys. And it was like, I'm telling you, the Cowboys environment was way more intense than the Rams environment in terms of what that weight room atmosphere, the intensity, like whatever. Like the Rams, it was like chill. It was like very chill.
Now, who creates that culture, Mike?
The strength coach.
Is okay. So like,
so what I just sit there and I look at his biggest task is being a strength coach of 100 plus kids at a Notre Dame is a much, much bigger challenge than, working with 50 guys at an NFL team, 30 of which even show up for off-season workouts. Most of those guys are doing their own thing. Like, you're going to show up, you're going to take a conditioning test, and then he's going to put a workout, and you can't really check. You can't, Saquon Barkley's making $8 million a year. You can't really chew his ass out like you could a sophomore in college, right?
Yeah.
So the dynamic's completely different. So that'll be interesting. But I think his approach, again, for like lack of a better term, like the old school plyometrics, like the stuff he has Christian McCaffrey doing, a lot of it's unweighted. It's just body weight, bounding, all like a lot of movement type stuff. So I dig it, man.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, there are frustrations. We all know them, but there are kind of big changes going on here with this program. This roster's changing quickly. And I like some of these bodies and some of the changes I've seen. Now, does it pay off on the field in a couple of years? We got to wait and see. But I am seeing a tangible difference in the kind of guys they're going after and how they want to build it. I can see that vision. It just all has to come together.
No, and good on, and I'm telling you, man, this thing with Freeman, flushing everything else that doesn't have his thumbprint on it is gone. Everything is gone.
Yeah.
Literally everything is gone.
Yep.
And it's like, well, damn, coach.
Yeah.
In a way, like mad respect. Like I respect what you're doing. You got to respect it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like,
better work. Better work if you're doing this, because there's no Notre Dame-ness to lean on. It's all you, baby.
Yeah, it's great.
Like,
that's great. That's great.
Now maybe he's getting more comfortable with this and feels like he could do more things on his own. It doesn't need some Notre Dame guy over his back. I don't know.
No, it's brilliant, man, and it's like almost like a way to almost. And
it's
I'm
freeing.
Gonna say, like,
it's freeing in a way.
Yeah, and it also sort of buys him, and I don't like to say buy him time, but it's like I'm implementing an entirely new, program here.
Yeah.
An entirely new thing. Like I need more than, and even as fans, like I need more than 2 years. But if you've got all this stuff in the works in the background, new strength coach, new this, right? Top to bottom, strength coach, coordinators. AD, I mean, top to bottom. I mean, I'm sure he's got a new equipment guy. Get the fuck out of here, the old guy, right? Get out of here. We're using new laundry soap, changing everything. All of that's good, reason for optimism, but then it's also met with, it's like, when is the in-game actual coaching stuff?
Yeah. Pair up with all that. Yeah.
I mean, all the media stuff he's doing, the branding, the image stuff. I mean, it's like, just home run after home run after home run.
Yeah. You're exactly right. It's like, how did those worlds get married together to where it all comes together at the right time?